Chapter 31. Fish Man Island. It is the year 1482. King Neptune is currently 28 years old. He was crowned king around 3 years ago. The island itself is a home for fishmen and merfolk. It serves as an underwater gateway to the New World for those who do not wish to enter through the calm belt. The island resides in a giant double-layered bubble floating above the seafloor, seemingly filled with about half water and reef and half air. Ryugu Palace rests in a smaller bubble on top of the main island's bubble. It is illuminated by the sunlight tree eve. The double bubble keeps out all the water and acts as a gate to trap invaders. Though with Zebek's death powers, naturally, we need not have much trouble going in. Another 2 hours have passed as the Titanic went forth and went through both bubbles and entered the island. The air was clean and calm. The light was almost the same as the sun. The atmosphere was nice. We walked out of the ship. There is civil unrest here, Shaki said. I have noticed that Shaki's armament is low but her observation is sky high. Perhaps she has a special inborn talent for it, like Asia or Shiarli. Whitebeard nodded. I heard that the nobles and many other humans used to venture down here to take away mermaids and fishmen. All until 7 years ago, King Neptune, he alone fought his way with his people and fended off the relentless attacks. 3 years ago he became king and stopped foreign invaders, for the most part. Pirates naturally got in though, almost like us. Shaki nodded. Though the world above hasn't changed much. Heck, the price on fishmen and mermaids have only gone up. Kaido then roared, are there any strong fighters here? Zebek chuckled, no, but the pressure from the sea. I will use it for training myself. I feel like I will soon enter a new level for my fruit. He then looked at us. We will probably stay here a few months. I need to get something for my powers down here. You can do as you like till then. He then disappeared, something I have grown used to. Whitebeard then smashed the ground with his punch. Boom. A small mountain rose out from the surface and surrounded our ship. This way our huge ship can pass off as a mountain. Well, who cares? I shrugged. Well, you kids enjoy yourself. I want to learn more about this land and their culture, see you later. She waved her hand and walked away. Che, Damien, fight me. Kaido roared as he smashed his club on the ground. Oh why, you damn ogre. Can't you chill for a second? If you want to fight then do it later. Our fight will draw too much attention. Just go and hibernate in some corner till we leave. Nani, I am not some beast who needs to go to sleep. He shot back. I smirked, could have fooled me. They growled a bit and smirked, after we leave, you and I will fight. Don't let me down then. He roared as he walked off to some corner. I could care less what he was up to. I then looked at the giant man next to me. What about you, Newgate Awson? I asked him. Garara, I will find the king and see how he is. His character is admirable. Whitebeard and Neptune were good friends in the past so I'll start that friendship now. I nodded as he too left. I looked at Aurora. Let's go. She nodded. I grinned at the girl as she blinked and felt a chill. 3 months later. Damien POV. Zebek has disappeared for 3 months now. I guess the death fruit is different from most. Sybil, what are your thoughts on the ultimate class fruits? I asked my trusty system. From what I can see, your captain has reached the peak of the advanced mastery of his fruit for a while now. To awaken a fruit is to reach the level even above advanced mastery. This level is the grand mastery level. Only by reaching the awakened stage can one reach this level. This makes sense, though it has a few oddities. But Doflamingo had awakened his powers before the age of 41. How come a monster like Zebek has failed to do so even beyond that number? I asked with confusion. This all comes down to fruit ratings. The higher the rating, the harder it is to master. The string fruit is rated at 6 stars. While death fruit is 7 stars. The difference might be only 1 star but the gap is quite significant. Each half-star jump greatly increases the difficulty to awaken a fruit. 6 stars can be considered a small hill. 6.5 stars, like yours, can be considered a large hill. But an ultimate class fruit is the level of a mountain. My eyes widened at her words. Makes sense indeed. So in other words, with my talent and with the system's guide, I should awaken in a few years. But Zebek, even for his monstrous strength, he needs so much time. I then shook my head in slight shock. Just how strong will he be if he awakens? Another 3 months later. We have now spent half an entire year on this island. Aurora and I have been training most of it. Though my training mostly encompassed hockey training and building my body further. I have grown quite a bit as I am now 15 years old. As I grow, I also need to train my body more and more. My overall strength won't rise greatly as that only comes with dueling true opponents. Your devil fruit mastery has increased, low intermediate right arrow mid intermediate mastery. Your observation hockey has increased, mid intermediate right arrow high intermediate mastery. Your armament hockey has increased, mid intermediate right arrow high intermediate mastery. These were the main boons from the 6-month time skip. Display my stats and skills, I asked. Ina D. Damien. Age, 15. Height, 8 feet 10. Status, healthy. Strength, mid-tier Yonko Commander Damien equals Doflamingo. Devil Fruit. Pulverize fruit mid-intermediate mastery. Sea Stone resistance, 68%. Skills. Observation hockey high intermediate mastery. Armament hockey high intermediate mastery. Conqueror's hockey controlled stage, low intermediate level. Points balance, 27,900 SP. My overall strength had risen to a sub-level. It is now on par with Doflamingo, not too bad. Other than the training, it seems Kaido tried to hunt down huge sea kings that were nearby. His endurance has only leveled up as he could resist the sea pressure of 10,000 meters down for a few minutes at a time. We couldn't really fight as it would attract too many fish man eyes right now. They are already quite pissed off at humans, so it's best not to fight while Zebek is away. Aurora, the girl has gotten a lot better. Before, her power level was around the peak of the Yonko crew pirate. In half a year, filled with agonizing training and endless exercise, her strength has exploded. Aurora. Age, 15 years and 6 months. Height, 7 feet 4. Strength, Quasi-Yonko Commander. Devil Fruit. Night Fruit low intermediate mastery. Quasi-Yonko Commander, that's around Brook level, however her strength should increase once again. I have guided her with the help of the system for 6 months. I only gave her simple things to follow. It was an inferior version of what I had, though tortuous all the same. Over the months I had contemplated her once more. Her fruit powers are definitely a must-have. After all, they do grant me the element of surprise in almost every situation. The mimicked version was not worth it, so I rather have the fruit itself. Killing her and using fruit reincarnation theory would be a bit risky. I would need to find the exact fruit she ate for it to work. And in the world of One Piece, where you can literally find islands made of food, it could be problematic if the fruit was one of the ones I had no clue of. Earth had around 2,000 different fruits. This world could have tens of thousands. Throwing a few hundred in the air after a fruit user's death is a gamble. Finding another user is not too difficult, but if I can get Aurora as a subordinate, why go through the trouble? However, I first needed to see if she was worth the investment. And whether or not I was just wasting my time babysitting a weak girl. For that, I needed to learn her story. She has given quite a few hints here and there, from which I have deduced her purpose. She is on a journey of revenge. She wishes to kill someone. Someone who she would literally become a bounty hunter and make a deal for 3 billion berries to accomplish. She spent 3 years going from a sheltered, rich girl to a girl obsessed with revenge. Due to this drive, she has somehow persisted through the grueling training. As for her future, from what I know regarding those obsessed with revenge, it is a journey, when accomplished, that leads to emptiness. Unlike I, who found another purpose and paired it with my revenge against Laurent, the girl has no such reason. In other words, due to these 6 months, I have most likely gained a future loyal subordinate by doing nothing overly extra and becoming her anchor. Her training over the past 6 months was the following. The first 2 months were solely to improve her body strength. The next month was 80% body training and 20% fruit training. The following 3 months were an even split between body and fruit training for her. But something happened a month ago. She seemed to have awakened his sixth sense, in a very raw form that is. She has a talent for observation, no doubt. I won't teach her how to train it, but only the vague concept of it, the rest, she can learn herself. Only once she has finished her revenge and joined under me will I train her. I also have taken a few countermeasures. I have found a few weaknesses of her fruit. I can quite easily take her down if need be. However, I noticed that over the 6-month period, she had started to grow more open and direct, more comfortable. It seems like this my investment might be far more bountiful than I had expected. 2 months ago Shaki came over and gave us a message from Zebek. The note read, "Come to Ryugu Palace in 2 months." Which of course is now. Ryugu Palace. 3rd POV. Within the throne hall were a few people. Upon a giant throne sat an equally giant merman. He had a black tail from the waist down and a muscular physique above. He wore a royal blue shirt and golden shoulder guards. On the side of his throne was a golden trident. He was currently in a great mood, his puffy orange hair and beard were reflecting his joy. "Ho ho ho, Newgate, are you sure you won't stay any longer jammin'?" The giant merman, aka King Neptune, said merrily. A man half the size of the king sat before the throne. "Gururara, Neptune, I have already stayed here for a long time now. My journey will continue, I can't remain any longer." Whitebeard said. "A pity. You are welcome any time jammin'." Neptune smiled. Step. A figure arrived with the escort of some guards. Step. A young man with black and red hair, a youthful face with clear crimson eyes. "King Neptune Sama, this human wishes to meet you." The fishman guard explained. "Ahem, apologizes King Neptune, do pardon my intrusion," Damien said with a light smile. Neptune was quite an understanding man, for the most part. "Ho ho ho, no problem. Since you are Newgate's crewmates then, of course, you are welcome here jammin'," the king said as he stroked his beard. "Kid, you're here. Good." Whitebeard grinned as he looked at the 2 young pirates. "It's been 6 months, Newgate Awesome," Damien said as he leisurely walked forth and sat before the throne. You have grown since then. Rahaha, you should see Kaido, that ogre grew at least 3 feet now." The red-eyed youth chuckled. "Neptune Sama, the other guest has arrived as well." A guard saluted. Slow steps. A young woman walked into the throne room, she was Shaki of the Rocks Pirates. "Yufufu, I seem to be a bit late, Neptune-san." Shaki greeted the merman. "Ho ho ho, it's fine jammin'. I will of course take you to that place once your captain arrives." Neptune said. "I guess Whitebeard and Neptune's friendship is already quite good. He did protect Fishman Island with his name after all." Damien thought to himself. Boom. A small bang sounded as a tall man entered from the window that was blown open. He had red dreadlocks pointing out from all sides, a savage expression on his face. "Zahaha, good, you're all here. Kaido is waiting outside. Neptune, lead the way," Zebek said as he cracked his neck. Neptune nodded. "Very well Zebek-san. Let us go. To the Sea Forest. The Sea Forest. The Sea Forest is a place northeast of Fishman Island. It is also known as the ship graveyard. There are several shipwrecks there because sunken ships are dragged there by the ocean current. Other than that, there was an enormous ship in the background. Its silhouette could be seen from anywhere on Fishman Island. Damien POV. The Noah. The ship of promise. It is so damn big. We were all going towards the Sea Forest. Kaido had caught up with us, the damn ogre was now 22 feet. 6.7 meters. Some guards alongside Neptune escorted us. We kept walking for another 15 minutes. "Here it is jammin'," Neptune stood to the side as he led us into a small valley from the nearby seafloor. A rather interesting sight, one that the scholars at Ohara would certainly wish to see. 2 giant stones sat in the center of the clearing. One was blue. The other was red. Road poneglyph. I yelled in my head as I saw the second stone. Oh shit. I forgot that there used to be a damn road poneglyph here. At least 25 years before Luffy's journey, this poneglyph was located at the Sea Forest. At a certain point later, the road poneglyph's whereabouts became unknown and it was currently considered lost thereon. But of course, it is here right now. The 2 poneglyphs. Poneglyph, a red one. Shaki said with visible confusion. Zebek's eyes widened. A red one. A grin formed on his face as he then turned to the blue stone. Zebek then closed his eyes and focused on his hearing. Joy Boy. Noah. Mermaid Princess. Fishman Island. He slowly said a few words as he kept listening. Neptune though, his eyes widened as he heard the words. Why you can read them. He said in a frenzy, even forgetting his usual suffix. It's a message from some man named Joyboy. Zebek scratched his chin. Not just a message, but rather. It's an apology. I said as I walked up to the stone. Zebek and the others traced my figure. I touched the stone, the moss was growing all over yet the engravings were still clear. The stone was speaking to me. It was conveying everything written upon it. Forgive me. I heard a wisp of intent from the stone. It's an apology from someone named Joyboy. Something about a promise he failed to fulfill. Joyboy, you said. Neptune froze. He seemed to have left this message for the mermaid princess in order to ask her forgiveness. I said. Of course, I know what it says from the anime, but it's a different experience to hear it from the actual stone. You know of him, Neptune-san? I asked the giant merman. He slowly nodded. Joyboy. He was a man from the Void Century. He left this as a message to the mermaid princess of that time. We in the royal family believe that one day someone will come and take our people to the world above using the Ark, in Joyboy's stead. The king explained. I squinted my eyes at his words. He won't talk about the weapon itself. Good idea considering Zebek is here. Xahaha, well this is of not much use to me. He then turned to the red stone. This, however. He squinted his eyes as he heard the stone. Sybil, can you use the stone for the location of the final island? I asked in my head. After all, the road poneglyph is worth more than the entire sea itself. 4 of them exist in this world. The combined locations detailed by all 4 road poneglyphs allow one to locate Laugh Tale. This is one of the 4 keys to becoming Pirate King. I have recorded the location in the map. Once you find the other 3, I can easily find the location of the last island, she said. Ding! New world level quest has been unlocked. Congratulations. The quest, Pirate King, has been unlocked. Pirate King find the final island. Rewards. Time limit. None. Penalty. None. Naturally I will do it. As a fan of One Piece, it would be a cardinal sin not to go there. But not now. Though with my plans, it may be easier to wait for Roger to reach there first. After all, I can ride the waves of the great age of pirates to fulfill my other plans. Though all this will be decided when the time comes. Especially since there is no time limit. I then turned towards Zebek. Are we sailing to the new world now, Captain? I asked him. Sigh, it is a pity I could not complete my training. I am very close. Just a little push. The crazy guy shook his head as he walked away with Shaki to get the ship. Kaido also left with him. Garara, Neptune, we will meet again in the future. Stay well till then. Whitebeard bid his farewell. Ho ho ho, you are always welcome here, Jammin. Whitebeard too left. Now only I and Neptune were left. Neptune-san. Nani Jammin. There is one more part one chose not to read out loud. I then looked at the king. The stone said something about an ability. Something that Joyboy would use to raise the Noah. Neptune's eyes widened. Tell me, Neptune-san, this ability. It was the mermaid princess's power, no? I asked with a smile. Neptune sighed. Damien-kun, you are correct. The ability was of the mermaid princess. He then turned to the stone once more. Joyboy and the mermaid princess. They both promised each other. Yet something happened. The Void Century, it is a mystery. He said while shaking his head. I then got up. Neptune-san, I have a feeling this ability will show up sooner than later. He then squinted his eyes at me. I smiled at his show of hostility. Come, I said to the empty space around us. We come, Great One. Command us, Great Lord. Your orders are heaven's mandate. Even your seed shall be our holy relic. Neptune took a few strides back as he saw the Sea Kings pull up. This. His mouth was wide enough to fit a giant boulder. His beard was stretched to the max. The princess will be born soon, King Neptune. In this century, it shall appear once more. Poseidon will awaken. I looked at the shocked king and said without pause. You must prepare. Fishman King. I do not know what awaits us in the future. Psych. But I am sure we will meet once more. I then smiled at him. Stay safe, King Neptune. I waved with my right hand and left, leaving behind the king as he went over my words with a serious gaze. He then looked far to the exit. Perhaps that day will come sooner than later. The day when Noah will fulfill its mission. He whispered into the silence. Why go so far and show my powers like that? Simply put, the Fishman race is quite a powerful force. Fishman Karate, it's a direct counter to fruit users. If I could list it, it would be at the same level as the Minx race. both tied at number 2. After all, the top race cannot be rivaled by any others, let alone us humans. Other than that, Poseidon. I don't know how, but perhaps I can somehow use it. After all, its ability is practically a weaker version of mine, it has its uses. Other than that, I want Neptune to have my image ingrained in his head. Fishman Island, if used to its full potential, can easily form a huge force capable of turning this world upside down. In the future, Hody Jones will unite 100,000 fishmen under him. Can you imagine what such a force, if properly trained, can accomplish in a world with so much sea? It is a goldmine for supremacy. I heard the fish as they informed me that the Titanic was preparing to sail, though I wanted to bid farewell to Aurora before leaving. Though on my way back, I felt something. It was something only I could see. I felt it when I read the Apology Stone. It was a weird feeling that was hidden inside the stone itself. It was some sort of glowing orb. It is rather an odd thing, it was neither cold nor hot. It had no weight. It almost felt like it didn't even exist. I looked at the item as a description appeared within my head. Memory shard 1/3. Collect all 3 shards to play a message left behind by the original system user. Author's Corner. I'll say it once more, there will only be one system user in this. The last part was more or less to relate to something in the past. You'll know more about it later on. Chapter 32. Memory shard 1/3. Collect all 3 shards to play a message left behind by the original system user. Remember when I said you were the second host of this world? And that the original host was betrayed and killed? Well, it seems that the host left behind a message in the form of a memory shard. Right, the original host and all. But this message means they made it at least to Fishman Island. Even with the help of the system he or she died. Where can I find the other 2 shards then? I asked. I have no clue. The original system died with the host, but somehow I was reborn from its ashes. I entered the grand samsara of systems and a new host was selected, you. As for the other 2 shards, I assume you will find them somewhere around the world. It could be with someone or buried somewhere. I can only tell if you are in close proximity to it. I thought over her words. I see, well then I guess I'll find them eventually. Pocketing away the shard, I left for another area before meeting up with the crew. It was a large cave within one of the mountains on this island. I had made it with my crushing powers to train and whatnot. Thud. I landed on the balcony that slightly protruded from the area. I walked in and saw a purple-haired girl who had her eyes closed as purple energy fluctuated around her. I smiled and looked at her. You still haven't told me exactly why you seek strength. Over the past 6 months, she had given a few hints. It seems like she was a royal member of some kingdom that was razed to the ground. She now needs money to take revenge against the perpetrator. Aurora closed her eyes as she thought over what to say and spoke. I used to be the crown princess of my home. But one day I lost everything. My entire family, my parents, my sister, they were all killed. My father's right-hand man, the right minister, betrayed us to the neighboring kingdom. We knew he was up to something from the beginning, but he had used his schemes to get the support of the people, so we couldn't remove him without absolute evidence. She then shook her head in frustration. We should have killed him when we had the chance. He incited a rebellion against the royal family, something that he planned for 10 years. He then sold this information to the rival kingdom so they could swoop in and take over. At that time, both the kingdoms were under the world government. Yet they did not intervene. He seemed to have been looking for things to use against our family, and after many years he finally found it. Under the castle were the catacombs in which there was a giant blue stone locked. Our family was tasked to guard this stone, yet over the centuries, our priorities shifted. He used this forbidden relic to plea for the Navy's aid as it was considered a major crime to own these stones. She looked into the dark sea and sighed. We couldn't do anything. Our allies chose to look the other way since the government itself had abandoned us. They even sent an admiral to aid the rebellion. She clenched her hands in anger. My entire family was executed while I escaped after eating a fruit I found near the forbidden object. My family was already caught by the admiral then, so I chose to escape. I used the night realm and ran away. But I also hid the stone in the night realm before escaping. It remains missing ever since. And now our kingdom has assimilated with the neighboring kingdom, and the traitorous minister got away with a high and prestigious position. The Marines even made the base G4 in the kingdom. I looked at the girl, she was shaking in anger. This forbidden relic, it was a poneglyph, no. I asked her. She looked at me with red eyes and nodded. I need to kill them. I don't care about the kingdom, but I must kill the traitorous scum and that entire family. Since the age of 9 when I ran away, I only had one reason to live, to destroy the ones responsible for what happened to my family. But ever since the Navy built their base there, no one is willing to attack. They use seastone to coat their castle entrances so I cannot sneak in with my night powers. I cannot just waltz in either. I was lost in despair for the next 3 years until I found some hope. Someone heard of my fruit powers and offered to help me bypass the security. He is one of the underworld emperors. Blackfish Barrow. He asked for 3 billion berries in return for his aid. And I, in desperation, chose to agree. So since the age of 12 to 15, I have been hunting down pirates to make up this money. I also couldn't show my face as we were labeled criminals due to that stone. Our family is known for our distinct hair and eye color. My only choice was to become a bounty hunter and hold on to the sliver of light that still remained in my darkness. Aurora was now clenching her fist so hard that it was drawing blood. I have to kill them, no matter what. My father, mother, my sister, they all died under his hands. I looked at her for another minute. It seems like this is the first time she opened up and admitted her weakness. My family too was betrayed by someone close, or at least to my mother. You know what I did to him. She looked at me with teary eyes. I killed him. And not with a quick death, but rather I tortured him in front of his own people. I then made him rot. For 7 days as his life slowly drained away. Aurora's gaze flickered with resolve. You should forget about the 3 billion berries. If you want to kill someone, you should do it yourself. Those rats who hide in the shadows and make deals cannot be trusted. But with your strength and mind, you should be strong enough to take your revenge with your own hands. Our conversation was then interrupted by a loud noise. Shatter. I looked into the distance and saw a cobweb in the sky. It was Whitebeard giving his signal as the Titanic began to sail. I then looked at Aurora once more. This poneglyph of yours, it seems quite interesting. Hee. Either way, my ride is about to sail away. Heed my words, if you can bide your time well, then I'm sure you will get what you seek. We will meet again. I turned around and walked to the balcony. Good luck, little girl. Geppo. The air popped as I made my way to the ship. Aurora looked up and saw the wind rustle as I vanished to the far horizon. Though Damien seemed to have missed a beautiful smile that blossomed upon the young girl's face upon his leave. Of course he will have a few birds keep track of her. As for the poneglyph, it will be quite important. It is still in the catacombs below the castle, but in the night realm, which is in a different plane than that reality. As in, the position is the same but it isn't there at the same time. The ship was preparing to sail. Zebek had already coated it with death so it was safe and sound in the sea. We began sailing up. Whitebeard was using his powers to direct the ship. I am now in my room as I heard a voice from outside. My king. It is I, Jimmy. My eyes smiled as I soared to the top of the ship. I turned to the side and saw the giant Sea King. Talk to me, Jimmy. Jimmy nodded and spoke. We have found what you seek. 2 days prior, our amphibian unit had sought the child named Morgans and left for an island. Upon entry, they found an odd human that looked more like a bird than a human. We believe it is the one you seek. My eyes widened at his description. So he has the fruit already. Interesting. Where is he? The Sea King groaned and went on. In the Paradise Sea, the island of Nea. Nea meaning news in Greek. Ding. Operation Nexus has been updated. Find the World News Agency main base cross mark. Find replacement president check mark. Bring the replacement under your control cross mark. Have the agency exit the world government's grasp cross mark. Time limit 1486. Very well. Now focus on finding the news agency main base. Jimmy nodded with reverence and swam away to carry out my orders. The agency base should be found soon. They do use seagulls to distribute news, however it's not like the seagulls are released only from the agency main base, but rather their sub-bases which I could care less about. I sighed with a smile as I got closer to my goal. Zebek is bound to call for another break. He is focused on his fruit which will take a while to awaken, so there is a good chance that I will get a while off to finish this operation. 12 hours later. A ginormous ship, 600 feet in length, popped out of the sea as it regained its buoyancy. The Titanic has officially entered the New World. The seas here were chaotic. Though that was an understatement. The current was messed up. The weather was terrible. It rained on one side and snowed on the other. Even the fish below were carnivorous and would easily devour a human in seconds. I was standing near the steering wheel with Shaki within the navigational cabin. There was a rectangular counter around the wheel. It had 10 eternal poses glued onto it with another. Three needle log poses affixed as well. Where to, Shaki nay? I asked her. Puff. She blew out a cloud of smoke with one hand on the wheel and her eyes on the logs. Zebek-san wants to find an island to awaken his fruit. But it is difficult to go anywhere without a proper map. She then gazed into the sea. The best place to go would be either a well-developed island that has a good reputation for its intel. Or perhaps robbing one of the 3 overlords of the sea. She concluded. My eyebrow furrowed as I heard the second option. Overlords of the sea. I have my fair share of intel before the New World, but not beyond it. I indirectly asked. Shaki responded. The 3 overlords of the sea are the current top pirates of the previous era that still live today. The Navy's grasp of the New World is quite weak, thus giving way for these top-level pirates to rule these seas as emperors. She then began to list names. Thaddeus Enigma, S.O. Borealis, Leo von Escanor, A.N. Yes, I am a bit lazy with names, but the fruit he has works perfectly with his name. These are the current rulers of this chaotic sea. She explained. I had a small smirk on my face as I nodded at her words. Of course. There's bound to be some pirates ruling the New World before Zebek and Roger, then, of course, the original Yonko. Shaki nay, can you tell me more about these big names? I asked her. She took a strong gulp of her cigarette as she nodded. Thaddeus, Medulla, Enigma. He is quite strong, but he is known not for his strength but rather his fruit power. He ate the mind fruit, a paramesha type that allows you to entirely control another's mind. He can also use mental type attacks that can corrode your mind away. There is no defense from this attack apart from a strong mind. The biggest threat that stems from this man is that he can control all his subordinates. As in, there is no betrayal, no infiltration, no spying. Due to this, he can stay true to his name. He is truly an enigma. S.O. Borealis. He is known for his brutality. He kills his people and burns down islands for the smallest of reasons. He ate the Logia type, wind fruit. He has reached the awakened stage. His crew is powerful yet small. He has the smallest territory of them all, but his strength is quite impressive. Lastly, Leo von Escanor. Also known as the Sin of Pride. He claims that he stands at the pinnacle of all races. His pride is as high as the sun in the sky. He ate the special Logia type, the sun fruit. His pride may be high, but his strength can justify it. Her next words made my jaw drop in surprise. At the correct time of the day, he can most certainly rival even someone like Zebek. Author's Corner. So these overlords. They are the current Yonko, Sanko. Well, I won't focus too much on them, but the seas can't just be empty now, can they? They will be the stepping stones for Roger pirates and Rocks pirates. Chapter 33. P.S. He hasn't watched 7 Deadly Sins as he was busy making bombs and only had time for One Piece and some other shows. At the correct time of the day, he can most certainly rival even someone like Zebek. My eyes widened at her words as I exclaimed. Rival the captain. I know these guys are strong, but the captain. Then I realized something. Wait, you said at the correct time of the day? I asked with some confusion. She smiled. His fruit, the sun fruit. It is a Logia fruit that absorbs the rays of the sun to achieve intangibility. He can become solar energy itself, though he does not gain the speed of light, but rather, the heat and supremacy of it. This may sound worse than other Logia, but that is not the case. Not only does it grant intangibility but also makes him stronger in all ways. His body absorbs the power of the sun to fuel himself, so the one time you should never fight him is high noon. I finished her words. She nodded. So how strong is he at other times? I asked. His base strength is probably under Newgate Kun, but after dawn and before dusk he can increase around 1.5x his strength. Though when the sun is at its highest, his strength significantly increases to the point where he can even go toe-to-toe with Zebek. She explained. I squinted my eyes at her words. So, what about at night time? She smirked. It's hard to say. As I said, he uses the power of the sun. Therefore he should be weaker once it sets. Though, somehow, he shows no real change in strength overnight. She said. On the other hand, around 12 years ago he fought some pirates who managed to survive and escape. They reported that when night came, Escanor became a twig of a man. She then shook her head. This has never been proven, but there are sources that claim that this happened before the man got his hands on his weapon, which seems to work great with his powers. It is one of the 12 supreme grade swords, Divine Axe Rita. She continued. Many believe that he can store solar energy within this weapon and use it at night as a substitute to the sun, masking his true weakness. Shaki then got up and went back to smoking as I thought over her words. This guy sounds quite strong. His strength is also his weakness, yet he was able to turn that around, quite impressive. I concluded in my head. Waro ro ro. A booming laugh echoed through the giant ship as I heard our friendly neighborhood ogre roar out loud. I went over, out of the navigational cabin and to the deck of the ship. What is it, brat? Zebek asked as he sat under the mast with an intrigued expression. It's the news. One of the overlords is auctioning one of the 12 supreme swords at Mora Island. He explained. Zebek however had a change in expression. Supreme grade A. My death powers are still stuck after 6 months. I tried using the pressure of 10,000 meters to help me fully grasp the power of death, but it requires more. He then smiled at Kaido. Read on, brat. Ah. Taiko, I can't read it, the words are so small. Kaido complained. Kaido looked rather comical. His hands were too big to hold the newspaper, so he had to literally pinch it with the tips of his fingers by the corner of the page to read its contents. Damn ogre, pass it here, I gestured to him. He threw the paper as it floated into my grasp. Speak boy. Tell me more about this sword. He demanded. Let's see. The blade is named Mokashiroku, also known as the Inferno Blade. It's the only molten blade of the 12 swords. It is also cursed and brings ruin upon the unworthy. I explained. Cursed blade like the one Zoro's Nadai Kitetsu. But a molten blade. I looked further down to the finer details. Molten blade. It has the properties of a black blade and a further curse. The molten aspect will forever burn away whoever it touches. My eyes blasted open at these words, a single touch and you will burn forever. Due to these horrible curses, no swordsman has ever been able to tame this blade, as none were able to swing it for more than 3 days. Though these words would bring dismay to most, it wasn't the case for Zebek. Ahahaha. Good. Very good. If I can mix my death powers into this blade, then perhaps I can finally unlock the mysteries of my powers. He then jumped off his seat and yelled. Shikuyaku. Take us to Mora Island. In one of the flashbacks, Zebek was indeed seen with a sword at his side. He then cackled to himself as he disappeared away. I looked at Whitebeard and asked. Newgate Asen. The man auctioning this sword, it's the overlord, Eso Borealis. Have you ever fought him? He squinted his eyes and flashed a scary grin. Garara. That Borealis. We are from the same island. Sphinx Island. That fool. I have a bone to pick with him, he declared with hockey radiating off him. My mind was blown at his words. So far I have never seen this man get angry. Woro. Someone actually pissed you off and lived. Kaido too was brimming with curiosity. What happened? I asked the giant. Gurug. He took a huge gulp of sake as he heard my words. Well, if you want to know, then let me tell you a story, brats. Sphinx Island. Both of us were born here. It's a small island in these seas. The world government abandoned it as my people were too poor to afford the heavenly tribute. Gurug. There was chaos everywhere. No order, completely lawless. I was just a little brat when Borealis, the man who had the power to support us, too, abandoned his people. Shatter. The gourd in his hand exploded into many pieces as Whitebeard released a dangerous aura. He breathed the same air as us. He drank the same dirty water as us. He ate the same spoiled food as us. But he left it behind without a second thought. That bastard Borealis. Not even Zebek can get in my way when I kill him. Whitebeard grit his teeth as his eyes darkened in fury. Both I and Kaido were caught off guard as we thought the same thing. This Borealis guy is dead. I looked at the angry giant as he was releasing his haki all over the ship. Looks like our first goal is to dethrone an overlord. I'm excited to see what these guys have to offer. Rahaha. WB is from Sphinx Island. It was indeed in the conditions mentioned above. It is said that Whitebeard greatly cared for his island and helped the people with his earnings as a pirate and put the territory under his flag. Damien POV. Mora Island. It's one of the few islands under the control of the Borealis pirates. We have an eternal pose as this island is frequently used by the overlord to sell rare goods and issue grand parties. It's a merchant-themed island with its government, all under Borealis control. Even if he was forgotten due to Roger's future adventure, he is bound to have great strength. I had asked the seagulls to bring older news articles regarding the man. He is around 60 years old. Logia fruit. Awakened stage. His main crew has only around 40 pirates. Though a decent fleet of fodders below it. The main problems are the 4 top pirates under him. They are his version of calamities of Kaido and Big Mom's sweet commanders. The 4 cardinal directions. North, East, West and South. These are their actual names. Well, they are said to have decent powers, but I would guess their strength to be around mine and Kaido's. Borealis himself, according to reports, should have the strength of a mid-tier Yonko. But this is not our only enemy. It is an open auction. Many eyes will be drawn in. I wonder which other pirates we will encounter. After all, the supreme grade swords are very rare. I said out loud as I gazed into the horizon. The auction will be held in 1 month. The new world is large and full of terrors. It will take 20 days or so to get there. I'll focus on training for now. I resolved myself as we set a course to take down one of the 3 overlords. 3rd POV. The news agency had naturally delivered this news all over the seas. Many people, both pirates and marines, were getting word of one of the legendary blades being sold to the highest bidder, at Yojira Island in Paradise. A young boy, around 2 years of age, was seen. He sat at the edge of the open railing that overlooked the dark lands below. He had jet black hair and piercing yellow eyes. Dracul Mahawk, the future greatest swordsman of the seas, was currently reading a piece of paper that flew down a while ago. Supreme grade sword, Mokashiroku, he recited in a soft voice. He then turned his attention to the hedge maze below. Mahawk eyed the black sword still engraved within the black pedestal at the core of the maze. The wind was constantly cut as it produced a nice, sharp sound. Black blade Yuru. One day, I too shall be worthy to wield you. He then clenched his little hands with a resolute gaze. The seas will know your might soon enough, he declared. The sword seemed to understand the boy's word as the wind around it was blasted into pieces. He then looked far off to the seas, his eyes piercing through the eternal forest. Ni-san, wait for me. Marineford. The fleet admiral sat at the desk within the newly reconstructed office. The mountain that was once there had been removed. Auctioning a supreme grade sword. These pirates intend to group up. It is the best time to sweep in and remove them altogether. Kong then picked up a transponder snail and dialed a number. Get Garp and Sengoku now, he ordered with an authoritative tone. An island of great forests in the New World. A large man sat at the center of a forest. He was wearing rather distinct armor all over his body as the mellow moonlight reflected off the shiny silver metal. There was a small shield affixed to his right arm. The overall design of his full body armor was silver with golden stripes across his waist and shield. He was currently sharpening his equally large axe as his eyes traced the daily newspaper. Supreme grade sword is it? My axe has cut down even great grade swords before. I wonder how tough these superior swords are. His deep voice sounded out through his armor as it carried beyond the deadly forest. Though the only thing nearby were thousands upon thousands of bodies of large monsters, basking in their blood. At an island of snow in the New World. Captain, look at this, that Borealis is auctioning off a supreme sword. A pirate reported. A large and well-built man stood at the bow of a ship. The ship wasn't overly large but looked quite durable. The sails were red. The frame had gold plating. The Jolly Roger was proudly printed upon the foresail. The man who the pirate was calling had a curved black mustache, a fierce grin, and intense eyes as he gazed at the informant with a surprised face. Wahahaha. That Borealis is selling off one of his treasures. Wahahaha. Another man near at the side then said. I have always wondered about the strength between these supreme blades, I'd say we finally go test it out. He offered. The man talking had slicked back golden hair and a distinct scar upon his left eye. He also had 3 stripes of facial hair running down his chin with simple glasses kept upon his nose. Wahahaha. You're right. Men. Set sail for Mora Island. The captain declared with great vigor. Author's Corner. So yeah, I didn't want to waste chapters on some filler arc right now, and I don't see Zebek being restrained and not go for an overlord right away, so yeah. Hope you like the little Mahawk snippet. As for the other 2 little snippets, I'm sure you can guess who they are. Chapter 34. Mora Island. The merchant-themed island has a very welcoming and pleasant atmosphere. A dense pine forest surrounded the residential areas. A deep fog waved through the island. A large mountain range etched across the horizon. Mora Island, where Ace will fight Jinbei. The forest stretched through around 80% of the island. Only the south end was habited. A large city built with stone buildings and houses. The ground was stable and well kept as thousands of merchants ran about. Thousands and people, countless pirates, members of the underworld, and undercover marines were present. The annual Mora Island auction sponsored by the Borealis pirates was about to happen. The main attraction was the grand finale of the auction, one of the 12 supreme grade swords. 29 days had passed since the news of the auctioning of the Inferno Blade, Mokashiroku. And the auction was to occur very soon. 5 different docks were available for the people to enter. At the center of the city was a giant stone building, the auction house. Flags flew in the wind as the Jolly Roger of the Borealis pirates danced about. Dock 1. A giant gray-colored ship pulled into the dock. It had a thick dull frame with blue masts that held together with the blue sails. The foremast had one word printed upon it. Borealis. The ship came to a stop as the pirates walked off. 50 or so men slowly flooded out as they cleared the way for the big dogs. 4 men with equal height, each peaking at 15 feet. Each had one letter printed on their chests. N, E, W, S. The 4 cardinal directions of the Borealis pirates. The odd thing was that they were all identical. Quadruplets. The only thing that set them apart was the letter on their chests and their facial hair. Though currently, they too moved to the side as another man walked out. Step, step, step. Loud clangs sounded out as an older man stepped off. He had tanned skin, an extremely muscular body. Veins popped all over as the sheer strength hidden within was prevalent. He had gray hair and a large gray beard. He was quite old, yet no one dared to look at him with the wrong gaze. He is one of the 3 overlords of the sea. Crazed Wind, Eso Borealis. Bobo, looks like the auction is going well, north, he said in a deep voice. Hi, Borealis-sama. It will begin in 20 hours now. Many have already arrived. The man answered. Borealis nodded in satisfaction. Good. This will rack in a lot of berries. Make sure to keep your eyes out for any who make trouble. He declared. Hi. The 4 pirates all shouted as they moved to the auction house. 20 hours later. At noon. We now begin the annual Borealis auction. The first item, a rare relic from 300 years back. Starting price, 100 million berries. 100 million. 103 million. 169.69 million. The auction continued for another 2 hours. The 69th item, 10 large slabs of Adam's oak wood. Starting price, 700 million berries. The final piece then arrived. 2 men walked up and stood at the side, guarding the stage. East and west. Both commanders stood straight, ready to fight off any who got in the way. And finally, we present the grand finale. South walked on the stage holding a long black box. There was a table at the center where he placed the treasure. Click. The locks were opened as the box was unlocked. The audience, nearly 500 people, all drew in as the pirate pulled out what was within. It was a katana. The hilt was simple, a red oval that sat before the blade. The grip, however, was quite eye-catching. It was mainly black with red diamonds lining down the grip. The blade was sheathed with a black cover. South looked at the audience and warned. Beware, this sword is a cursed inferno blade. I will unsheath it, though I can only hold it for a few seconds. He then focused on the blade. South took a deep breath and put his right hand on the grip and his left on the scabbard. Shing. The sheath smoothly slid off as the sword was unleashed. Boom! A deep cry of blood and death burst out as the blade was unfurled. It was seething in fury as the air around it started to steam. Gasping audience. The blade was very wild-looking, yet it only enhanced its beauty. The blade itself was black, yet there were many cracks all over it as a molten red glow pulsed upon the metal. A red aura surrounded the sword as South desperately tried to hold it. A.N. Inferno Blade, Mokashiroku image. Ah. Shing. The sheath was slid back on as the blade calmed down, ready to be released once more. Though this itself drew in a wondrous response from the crowd. What a deadly blade. I felt like I was cut in half while sitting all the way over here. I almost pissed myself. Though these fodders were not the main guests. Quite a few powerful people sat in the corners of the hall, hiding in the shadows with varying intentions. However, a loud bang resonated through the hall, shutting all else. Boom. A loud bang rang through the auction house as the door was blasted open. 20 minutes ago. Damien POV. We docked off at the island a bit further away, after all our ship drew in too many eyes. Zebek was against it, but he eventually gave in as Shaki and Whitebeard both protested. Zebek wanted to enter and raze everything to the ground. Don't get in my way, Zebek. Borealis is mine, Whitebeard roared as he grabbed his weapon. He does not have his Murakumogiri, he uses a similar glaive as his current weapon. He will find his true weapon soon. Ahahaha. Newgate, you better end it soon, or else I might end up giving in to my urges and fight the both of you. Zebek responded with battle lust radiating off him. Ro. I can't wait to finally fight. It's been too long. Kaido bellowed out. Looks like this island may need to be rebuilt from the ground up. I shook my head with a wry smile. Let's go, Zebek said. We left Shaki at the ship, we would alert her when we were ready to leave. After all, if we went straight to the docks then it would give away our intents. We don't exactly have a good rep. Thud. A little explosion rattled through the stone flooring as three of us landed. Whitebeard is in the center, Kaido to his left and I to his right. Zebek had disappeared once more. He probably did not expect anyone to fight as the main attraction was Whitebeard's enemy. Hey, isn't that? Yeah, from 7 months ago. The report said that they killed 3 world nobles. What do they intend to do here? Surely they won't try to fight an overlord of the sea, right? Tens of hushed voices whispered out as the people around us started to recognize our faces. Other than that, we did stand out quite a bit. A man around the height of a lamppost. A crazy ogre. And then there's me, though shorter than the rest, still quite tall with distant hair and eye color. Step. Hey, you, stop here, the guards yelled. We stopped until, step. One man walked forth, Kaido. He had his Kanabo club ready as he cracked his shoulders and raised his weapon over his right shoulder. He cackled. Wait. FWOOO. The wind howled in fury as the giant club swung with endless momentum, bashing into the 2 poor guards. The spiked edges drilled into their heads as they popped like grapes. The attack didn't stop there. It went on and continued as it inched near the giant door. Boom. The gate was blasted open as the huge pieces of debris rained into the hall within. They're crazy. This is an overlord territory. They're courting death. The bystanders gasped at the display and ran for their lives. They may be weak, but they definitely know the battle that happens near an overlord and had no desire to stay near it. The audience inside had started to clear out. It's almost like they came prepared to run at any moment's notice. Whitebeard walked in first. Step. Borealis, you bastard, come out. He yelled. You are Newgate. A deep voice rumbled from afar as the wind grew erratic. Howling winds sound. The wind gathered together to the center of the stage as the figure of a 15-foot-tall old man appeared. Borealis, Whitebeard said softly as he gazed at the overlord. You abandoned your home. You forsook your own people. You are the kind I hate the most. The ones who turn their backs on their own people. HMPH. You are as foolish as when you were a little child, Newgate. He commented. Enough talk. Whitebeard declared. FWOOO. A white halo formed around the giant's hand as it encased his right fist. Whitebeard jumped from the entrance all the way to the stage. Borealis saw the attack and narrowed his eyes. Howling winds. The old man's arms popped with muscles as winds gathered all around them. The wind cried as it was brought together into the man's grasp and became one with him. A small tornado wrapped around Borealis' right arm as he jumps forward to meet the attack. Boom. Tornado versus tremor. The battle raged on. Damien POV. Geez, seeing Whitebeard going berserk is quite the sight. I commented as I saw the two duels. However, a laugh interrupted my train of thought. Wahahahahahah. What an interesting sight. No, really. The man joked as he stayed seated on the chairs. Indeed, that man is Edward Newgate who ate the tremor fruit. Rayleigh said with clear admiration. As for me, the fuck is that the damn Pirate King chilling here? The Dark King as well, to think these guys would come here too. Oh right, they are sword wielders after all. Roger then turned his gaze at me. Yo, kid, you're on the same ship as that Newgate guy, right? He asked merely. That's right, and you are Gall D. Roger and Silver's Rayleigh, I replied. Wahahaha, I heard of a crazy crew who pissed off the Marines, to think you would come here. He said. He then got up from his seat. I'm no match for this guy, but that doesn't mean I will retreat. Boom. A small explosion and ground cracked beside me. A giant club hit the ground as a huge youth landed. Waro. Damien, you found some powerful people and didn't call me over. Kaido complained. Ah, young man, you should know your level is still far from us, Rayleigh said, though he too got up from his seat. Wahahaha. Rayleigh, let me deal with it. Shing. He drew out his saber from his side, it rested comfortably in his right hand. The sword in his hand looked quite plain and simple, yet my observation was blaring at the sight of it. Wahahaha, come, kids. He ran forwards with no sight of hesitation. The seating area was already a mess from earlier, leaving behind a clean platform. The future Pirate King running at you with a crazy smile and his sword drawn, what do I do? Meet it head on of course. Let's go, Kaido. Woro. Boom. The ground cracked apart as the two of us raced forwards. Kaido's club started boiling as a black aura was released and sparks lit in the air. My arm was wrapped with crimson energy as even more gathered in my left fist. The air bursts apart as I began my attack. Roger just grinned as he ran forwards. His sword was resting at the back of his neck. Holding his sword in his right hand, Roger pulls his arm back and swings it forwards in a diagonal movement, creating an all-powerful slash. Reime Hake. All Crush. Divine Departure. Chapter 35. Kaido's black club had sparks of thunder rattling through as he swung it straight at Roger. I used my pulverizing energy to propel it from my shoulders and out my fist. The concentration of the energy was so incredibly dense that it lit the surrounding air ablaze. A thunderous club plus an inferno fist of crushing force is what met the future Pirate King. Roger simply reeled his arm back and swung his sword in a simple yet powerful diagonal arc. A black slash of sword energy was shot out as it came into contact with our attacks. As for the result, boom, a huge explosion resounded through the chaotic mess of the once regal hall as the attacks converged together. Such a simple attack carries so much force. I exclaimed in my head as I felt myself lose balance as Roger's attack raged on. Boom. PFF'd. My mouth filled up with blood as my fist was blown away and the sword slash carried forth and hit me straight in the chest. Kaido was the same, his club was pushed back as the all-powerful slash ventured forth and nailed him in the chest. The both of us were rocketed back at great speed, unable to stop ourselves. Boom. The walls cracked apart as we were drilled into the supports, causing the entire hall to fall apart. Cough. Bah. Cough. I rolled around to a stop as the taste of iron swept my mouth, my ribs were probably cracked. Odin took this hit and was launched through many giant trees till he stopped. A single attack beat him as it did with us. If it weren't for Kaido sharing half the force, I most likely would have a permanent scar across my chest. Crack. Sounds of bones cracking were heard as my rapid regeneration kicked in and started to heal me right away. I jumped up from the ground and landed on my feet. Kaido, who was on my side, also got up, his wounds too had begun to heal. Woro. What a powerful attack, my fourth ever loss. Kaido laughed as he cracked his shoulders. This guy is as strong as the captain and Garp. It's only fitting that we would lose. I said in a sour tone. Even with my growth, I am still a ways away from even taking to enter the same battlefield as these monsters. I sighed. But it is growth nonetheless. 2 years. I need 2 years and then I can for sure take that hit head on. I made up my mind as my wounds healed away. Wahahaha. For your age, your strength is quite amazing. Roger laughed. I looked at him, he was casually standing with his sword sheathed and his arms resting on his waist. Though their eyes suddenly gleamed red as they felt a threat inch close. Their gaze darted to the side as I eventually too felt something coming. Xahahaha. A wild laugh echoed through the broken roof as a man appeared nearby. Newgate chose Borealis, so I thought I would have to wait it out, but now that I see it, there is someone even stronger here. Zebek roared. Rayleigh squinted his eyes, he clearly perceived Zebek's threat level. Roger though just smiled. Wahahaha. You are Rox D. Zebek. I heard from Garp that you fought him and that Basara guy half a year ago. Zebek grinned. Those two. Xahaha. I haven't had a good fight in a long time. Don't hold back, Roger. With that said, Zebek jumped up from the ground as his fist glowed a withering dark purple. Roger took out his saber once more and jumped towards the captain. A black sword versus a punch of death. The attacks met and the world flipped around. Zebek seemed to have released some red bubbling aura around his death powers, causing it to turn a menacing dark crimson. Roger's sword, which was purple too, seemed to release another form of haki that floated around his blade. Boom! The air quaked away. The world trembled. The skies cleared as the clouds were blown apart. The already wrecked hall cracked as the foundation itself was ripped apart. Just the shockwave released caused both I and Kaido to be pushed back. Though seeing their clash, Kaido only uttered the obvious. They aren't even touching each other. They aren't at their prime, yet but if Luffy can learn emission at 19 with plot armor, then surely these two can do the same. Their conquerors are also naturally above others. And at that point, both of us were forced to retreat. The ground was just blown apart and the force was way too much for us to hold on to. We were pushed back 100 or so meters from the clash as they continued. All the way to the nearby docks. Though as they continued, we instead felt a shadow from afar, in the far sea. I looked to the seas beyond and saw a few silhouettes. 1, 7, 15, 26. 40 marine ships were advancing forth. 30 regular ships and 10 warships. Upon the helm of the leading two ships stood two men. A tall and charismatic-looking man with a scar over his eye. He had a grin plastered to his face as he stood, arms crossed. The other ship had an equally tall man with a large black afro and mustache. Vice Admiral Garp and Admiral Sengoku. Alongside 40 Marines ships, I exclaimed as I saw the force. Waro. This is getting better and better. Thud. The ground shook as a few figures landed beside us. A sharp-looking man with golden hair, glasses and a cool beard. Another man, he had long black hair and wore sunglasses. He held twin axes in both hands. A 9-foot-tall man wholly encased in silver armor with a shield affixed to his right arm and a silver axe held in his left hand. Rayleigh to my right, Gabon further right, and the other man to Kaido's left. I looked at the Pirate King's right-hand man. I started to speak. Hee, don't worry, young man. Roger is enjoying his duel, so I can't let these Marines interrupt my captain, now can I? He chuckled. Hee, Rayleigh, last time Garp got a nice punch in. I guess it's time we pay him back, no? The other man said. Scopper Gabon. He is another one of Roger's big guns. I then turned to the tall silver knight. You are? I asked him. My axe awaits to cut down strong foes. I came to see the might of the sword and was not disappointed. I wish to duel the man who can properly wield such a blade. He then turned his gaze at me. You can call me Silver Axe, he answered in a smooth voice with no emotions. I simply nodded but was shocked on the inside. Silver Axe, another one of Zebek's future commanders. I exclaimed. Waro. Let us fight. Kaido roared as he smashed his club into the ground. On the marine ship, Sengoku had a grim look on his face as he saw the chaos before him. He could easily feel the shockwaves ripple out, the power levels were quite high. This situation is far worse than we expected. I can perceive at least 4 top-level pirates dueling, he said with a serious tone. Wahahaha, don't worry Sengoku, I'll protect you from the scary pirates. Garp laughed. Sengoku had a tick mark on his forehead as he yelled at his colleague. Damn you, Garp. Don't you see how serious this is? We have brought enough forces for an overlord, but this is far worse than that. Garp looked back at the island. Well, I guess you have a point. He then jammed a finger up his nose and picked on it while waiting for the battle to begin. He then squinted his eyes as he looked to the far docks in the distance. Rayleigh. Scopper Gabon, that shine. Silver Axe too. He raised an eyebrow. And those two brats from Zebek's crew. No wonder the seas are so messed up. Wahahaha. Sengoku instead was annoyed. He had been fooled by these pirates as he let them get away at Sabayati all the while killing off 3 nobles. It was a long session of Gorosei yelling at the outcome. Garp walked to the side and rolled up his sleeves. He had a line of cannonballs ready within hand's reach. They were placed on conveyor belts that kept supplying an enormous supply of balls. Genkatsu Ryusegan. Fist bone meteor swarm. His arms moved at absurd speeds as he quickly grabbed the balls one by one and launched them without delay. Thousands of cannonballs were thrown like a baseball pitch as they rocketed towards the pirates beyond. The speed itself caused the water below to explode as it followed their momentum. Third paw. Thousands of cannonballs were whizzing forwards towards the 5 pirates. Rayleigh unsheathed his saber and slashed the air a few times, causing arcs of sword energy to fire out and cut apart hundreds of balls in the process. Gabon used his twin axes and used an X movement, releasing powerful slashes that destroyed the oncoming fire. Silver Axe simply raised his weapon over his shoulder and slashed down. The simple movement caused a white-colored column of energy to blast out, partially splitting the sea below. Damien raised his left hand and shot out a pulse of pulverizing energy, instantly crushing the cannonballs apart. Kaido just stood there as the balls exploded all over his body, leaving behind a few white marks that healed instantly. Boom. Bang. Boom. The 40 marine ships fired countless other projectiles as the 5 pirates cut them apart. As of now, the marine advance was only 50 or so meters from the docks and had halted as they used distance over the seas to their advantage. Marine ship. Keep firing. We have 10 warships. Even these pirates cannot hold a buster call. Vice Admiral Garp and Admiral Sengoku are with us. Fire. They kept lighting the cannons as they shot tens of hundreds of balls out without delay. Oi, what's that? A marine whispered. Holy crap, another commented. That ship is a bit too big, no. The sight was quite intimidating. Marine ships are barely 15 meters high and warships were around twice as large. 30-meter tall ships are what they were used to. However, the sight before them was a bit out of their scope. A ship 60 meters 200 feet in height was now approaching with great speed from behind the Marines. It was twice as taller as their warships, but the length was way longer than anything they had seen before. On the other hand, another ship was seen sailing from the left side of the Marine Armada. It wasn't that large but seemed quite sturdy. The red sails were quite eye-catching. Each foresail had words printed upon them. They read, ROCKS. GOL. Operator D. Operator Roger. The ships were afar but sailed sideways to allow the cannons to be directed at the Marines. Honk. More ships blared as tens of them sailed out from the docks. They were the crew under Borealis pirates. With so much chaos going on in the auction hall, they had no clue that their boss was currently facing his death. Their instincts kicked in as they saw the Marines. It's only natural an overlord ship crew is used to such battles. Boom. Hundreds of cannonballs fired from the 2 ships and the other fleet as they rained down upon the 40 Marine ships. Damn it. Switch the target to those ships, Sengoku ordered, and thus a naval battle ensued. So Marine Armada is at the south end of the island, behind them is Rock's ships, to the left, Roger's ship, and the right is the Borealis fleet. 40 Marine ships vs 25 Borealis ships, 1 Titanic, and 1 Oro Jackson. Unfortunately for the Marines, the enemy was firing from 3 different directions, making it quite difficult to hold on. The battle was at a standstill. The 10 Vice Admiral were able to keep most attacks under control, but that was the same for the pirates. The Oro Jackson and the Titanic were not even scratched as they tanked the many attacks. Their hulls were too sturdy. Che, there is no need to hold back anymore. Sink them, Sengoku yelled. Garp stood at the bow and squinted his eyes. He took off his marine coat and jumped in the air towards the pirate fleet, yet his advance was interrupted. FWOOOO. The air was cut as a vertical slash shot towards the man who was floating in midair. Now, Garp. Let us settle accounts elsewhere. There's no point in us joining such a fight here, Rayleigh said with a smile. His saber resting in his hand. Rayleigh, Gabon, hee hee. Garp chuckled as they disappeared and reappeared on the island and began their duel. Garp's hockey-clad fist raged on and met Rayleigh's black sword and Gabon's twin axes. Boom! The ground cracked as the dance of blades and fists continued. Sengoku shook his head in frustration. Unlike Garp, he was much less free-spirited in his fights. He saw his marines being slightly overwhelmed. Even 10 vice-admirals could not keep us with the constant fire from 3 different directions. Sengoku's fruit power was able to destroy the scaffold at Marineford just by transforming. This battleship would not hold his power, thus he had to use other means to fight. He jumped off his ships and towards the Borealis fleet. After all, as long as he could remove them, the Marines would only need to fight from 2 fronts rather than the current 3, significantly increasing their chances of winning. Pop. The air popped as the Admiral blasted forwards with endless momentum. Boom. A black club alongside a giant youth appeared from the side as he literally jumped from the coast of the island to meet Sengoku. Woro. That Rayleigh took Garp, so how can I just sit around and wait for you to go fight the other bugs? Sengoku's blackened arm stopped the club in its path. Bam! A red-eyed youth appeared floating in the air as his crimson fist raged onwards to the Admiral. Phew! A silver axe spun in the air as it shot towards the Admiral's chest, aiming for the heart. Che, damn kids! Sengoku cursed. Both his arms were holding back Damien and Kaido's attacks while Silver Axe's weapon was flying to his open chest. Tekai, go! Iron mass, strength, hardening. The Admiral's chest muscles hardened as they took the form of iron itself. Another shine of black then coated his chest as it formed an impenetrable defense. Boom! The axe knocked straight into the Admiral's chest, yet it could not cut. It kept pushing, though producing no result. Sengoku frowned as he gathered even more power into his body. His muscles popped as he released a far greater strength to each of the 3 attacks. Boom! The 2 youths were pushed back a bit and the axe deflected off the Admiral and back to the man who threw it. Thud! 4 loud bangs slightly shook the ground as they landed at a clearing on land. 3 men standing side by side while a marine stood in front of them. Damien in the center, Kaido to his left and Silver Axe on the right. Boom! Kaido's club slammed on the ground as he radiated battle lust, seeing his opponent. Sliver! Axe twirled his weapon as it too hit the ground and shined in the evening sun. Damien pushed both his knuckles together, causing the air to pop as he grinned. Woro. An Admiral, Sabarashi. My axe has yet to cut such a powerful opponent, please forgive my arrogance. Damien grinned as his fists glowed red. Sengoku-san, I'm afraid that we shall be your opponents. Author's Corner. Sengoku is quite powerful and currently, it's Damien equals Kaido less than Silver Axe, which I believe is what is needed to fight this Admiral. P.S. Timeskip coming soon where MC will increase in power greatly.